Good afternoon and thank you for choosing ABC News Ghana. I am Jennifer Sumwa. Thank you for choosing ABC News Ghana. Don't forget, we are streaming on YouTube at ABC News Ghana. Now the news in detail. A 25-year-old electrical and electronic engineering student of the University of Mines and Technology, UMAT, Samuel Nyangbewa, emerges winner of the 5th edition of the presidential pitch. Samuel took home 250,000 Ghana cedis for his innovation dubbed Smart Switch, which the panel members adjudged the overall best. The presidential pitch is a business competition designed by the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, NEIP, to offer young Ghanaian entrepreneurs between the ages of 18 to 40 the opportunity to pitch their business ideas. The National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program on August 23, 2024, hosted the 5th edition of the Presidential Pitch, a flagship initiative by the Nana Addo Bawumia administration to empower young entrepreneurs in Ghana, spearheaded by the late Dr. John Kuma as the former Chief Executive Officer. The event, held in Accra, brought together stakeholders from various sectors to support the growth of innovative startups. In a heartfelt tribute, President Akufo-Addo renamed the overall prize for the presidential pitch in honor of the late Dr. John Kuma, the founding CEO of the program.
In his honor, the first place award for the winner of the presidential pitch will be named the Dr. John A. Kuma Prize for Entrepreneurship and Innovation.
The Deputy Finance Minister, Honorable Abena Osei Asare, indicated that entrepreneurship is essential for building an economy that is resilient.
We do so because we are convinced that entrepreneurship is a sure way for building a stronger and resilient economy that can withstand shocks.
According to the CEO of National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, Kofi Ofosun-Kansa, since its inception in 2017, NEIP has supported over 250,000 beneficiaries, providing business development support and funding.
Mr. President, we feel proud that since 2017, we have provided business development support to about 250,000 beneficiaries, provided startup packs to 35,000 businesses, and provided funding support to about 15,000 businesses.
The newly renamed Dr. John Kuma Prize for Entrepreneurship and Innovation was awarded to Samuel Namgrina Wisdom Tukuno Buedu, who placed second, received 150,000 Ghana cedis for his innovation Fresh Line. For placing third, Bismarck Osei of Deco Plus took home 140,000 cedis. Away from that, let's do some elections. As Ghana prepares for its upcoming 2024 general elections, the phenomenon of having independent candidates run for political offices has been no different. While Ghana's political scene has traditionally been dominated by two major parties, the New Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress, there has been a noticeable rise in the number of independent candidates vying for political office in recent years. According to the Director of Training at the Electoral Commission, Dr. Srebo Kweku, over 20 persons have so far picked nomination forms to contest as independent presidential candidates in the upcoming December 7 election as of August 22. These include Alan Tremontin, Nana Kwame Bediako, Jacob Osei-Yeboah, Richard Suma, Janet Asananabla, Sam Ankra and Kofi Cranton. However, the impact of independent candidates on Ghana's electoral process seems palpable in their bid to break the political duopoly. Well, let's take a look at some graphics on the performance of some independent candidates. And let's look at the list of independent presidential aspirants who have picked some nominations so far. So we have George Chumberima Edu, we have Samuel Apia Dankwa, Alan Tremontin has also picked up a nomination, Nana Kwame Bediako. We also have Jacob Osei-Yeboah, and we have Richard Suma. Kofi Cranton has also picked nominations so far, and Desmond Abrifa. We also have Dr. Agnes Aisha picking up nomination, and Dr. Ni Amu Dakum. Also, Wilberforce Andrews and Nana Stevens have also picked up nominations so far. We also have here Reverend Samuel Wolanyo, and Amenya Tike. On the list is also Robert Roy Randolph and Paul Peko. We also have on the list Seth Intim Ejako and Stephen Atubiga. Janet Nabla has also picked up the nomination form, and we have Sam Ankara. Well, let's take a look at 2020, some of the independent presidential aspirants who filed nominations, that is for the 2020 elections. We have Marik Kofi Ghani. Well, he is a Ghanaian management consultant and he's also a chartered accountant. So he picked up, he filed a nomination in the 2020 elections. And also we have Alfred Kwame Esiedu Walker, whose running mate was Jacob Osei Yeboah. Also, still in 2020, Kofi Krantin, who is a Ghanaian activist and politician, and he used to be the chief executive officer of the Progressive Alliance movement. He also filed nomination in 2020 as an independent presidential aspirant. Now let's take a look at the list of 2016 independent presidential aspirants who filed nominations. Well, we have on the list Jacob Osei Yeboah. Jacob Osei Yeboah filed in 2016 and he also filed in 2012. Let's take a look at the list of the 2012 independent presidential aspirants who filed nomination, and that is Jacob Osei Yeboah. He was the only one who filed as an independent candidate in 2016 and the same person who filed in 2012. He obtained less than 1% of the valid votes cast in the 2012 2008, the independent aspirants who filed nomination, we have Kwesi Amwafo Yeboah. Joining us on Zoom for more discussions on this topic is Salam Insian from the Global Info Analytics. Thank you for joining us here on ABC.
The areas that I of what he did explain about it.
Hello, Salam.
Thanks. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We understand that over 20 persons have picked nominations to run as independent candidates in the upcoming elections. How would you assess the presence and impact of candidates on Ghana's electoral process?
Thank you. First of all, it's actually surprising we have that many filing to run as independent candidates. Historically, they've not done well, and looking at the political system and the mood and all that, I'm not sure they will make as much political impact that they think they might make. Probably some of them are filing to maybe become a bit more relevant in case the election goes to a runoff, so that maybe one of the two parties will try and cut their support. Aside that, I don't really. Okay, we have 3 months to go, so we'll see. But basically, the top one that I feel might make a little impact could be Alan and Cheddar. The others, I'm not sure, because our polling shows that these two are garnering more votes than all the others.
Independent candidates should be capped, and if not, what role do you see independent candidates playing in Ghana's future elections?
Well, yeah, I think there should be a fine balance between trying to restrict the number who want to file to run as independent, and also trying to allow people to participate in the electoral system. So capping will not be a bad idea, but the how and the what method and mode will be used will be important. Of course, there's general sentiment about Ghanaian voters being fed up with the two parties, but essentially people say that, but behind what they say is that normally maybe they are fed up with the current one, or they are fed up with maybe they like a particular one less than the other, but they are not really showing per their voting intent whether they really want to shift and move away from these two parties.
Amicia from the Global Info Analytics. Well, more recently, the New Patriotic Party Member of Parliament for Aguna West, Cynthia Morrison, announced her intention to run as an independent candidate in the 2024 general elections. The former gender minister decided to break away from her party following her loss to the newly elected NPP parliamentary candidate for Aguna West, Christopher Arthur. In the 2024 NPP parliamentary primaries, Madam Morrison garnered 152 votes, while Christopher Arthur emerged victorious with 240 votes, securing the nomination as a parliamentary candidate. Thank you for staying with us. We are still on election 2024, and we are assessing the nature of independent candidates and their impact on the elections. Well, let's take a look at some independent candidates have garnered. Well, in the year 2008, we have Kwesi Amwafo Yeboah, and the number of votes that he garnered is 19,300. That's the number of voters, that is 19,342, which represents a percentage of 0.2%. And the total valid votes cast was 9,001,478. And the rejected ballot was 92,886. That is for 2008, and that is for Kwesi Amwafo Yeboah. Let's move on to Jacob Osei Yeboah, and that is still in the year 2008. The number of voters was 15,156, which represents a percentage of 0.14%. And the total valid votes was 10,995,262, with rejected ballots being 251,720. Now let's take a look at Jacob Osei Yeboah. In the year 2008, the number of voters was 15,921, which represents a percentage of 0.15%. The total valid vote was 10,713,650, and the rejected ballot was 167,349. Let's look at Alfred K.A. Walker, still in the year 2008. The number of voters was 9,703, which represents a percentage of 0.074%, and the total valid votes at 13,121,111, with rejected ballots at 313,397. We'll go back and speak to Salam, who is from the Global Info Analytics, to give us more information on if independent candidates really have impact on our elections, and in case there is a runoff, do they really play a role? Hello, Salam.
Yes, I mean, theoretically they do play a role, but what impact they will have will depend on the kind of votes they garner. Okay, if they don't garner enough, to first of all push the elections to a runoff, their significance will not really be much. But as I said, our polling doesn't show that. As at now, our polling doesn't show that they are doing well enough to push the election into a runoff. But of course, we have 3 months to go. We are still polling. We'll be polling up to November or thereabout. So we'll see how they come up. But for the fact that we are even hearing some of these independent candidates' names for the first time, will show that they are not significant as they might think they are.
But
one thing we should note that, as I said, the two parties are very entrenched on the ground. You know, they've been running elections since 92. They are in the hamlets, they are in the villages, they go to funerals, they go to adoring. I know they've established some kind of contacts with the people at the grassroots, the villages, the hamlets, and all that. So it will not be easy for an independent candidate to just emerge and let's say either push the election to a runoff or maybe secure a win. It will take a lot because you have to be at the ground. You know, politics, they say, is a contact sport, right? The more you meet people, talk to people, meet their needs and all that, the more you solidify your base and support.
But you see, over the years, even the independent candidates, they've not been able to attain up to 1%. But this year, so far, we've seen about 22 people pick up these forms. Let's say if they all file the nominations, is there a likelihood it might affect the outcome of the elections this year?
Yes, anything is possible. I mean, but per the data, no. I will be surprised if all the 22 are able to file, actually. I'll be very surprised if all the 22 are able to file. I suspect some might pick the form and later rethink because you need, I think, endorsement for more than 275 constituencies, right? And they have to be unique endorsements and all that. So, you know, Marik Kofi Ghani was I think, one of the independent candidates you follow. You realize that he has very solid policies, but he even couldn't file successfully, right? He filed his nomination. There were issues. He had to be disqualified. He went to court and all that. So I doubt if all the 22. I suspect maybe you can get like maybe a quarter of them filing. Like maybe 5 or 6 of them filing. I don't expect all of them to file.
All right.
I might be wrong, but that's what I think. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Salam. Well, that is Salam from the Global Info Analytics. And he's saying that he does not think that the independent candidates will have an effect on the outcome of the elections. Still on the 2024 elections, the National Democratic Congress has outlined policies it envisages will reset Ghana's economy and create opportunities for Ghanaians. Speaking at the unveiling of the party's manifesto over the weekend, the flag bearer John Dramani Mahama lamented that Ghanaians cannot afford one more day of the Akufo-Addo government beyond 7 January 2025. According to him, the MPP government has sunk the country into hardship, which the NDC seeks to reverse with its manifesto. A critical area of focus for the NDC will be to revitalize the economy and create jobs through the 24-hour economy policy. John Mahama further indicated that the NDC would focus on recouping all state funds lost in alleged corrupt acts in the current government through its Operation Recover All the Loot policy and cut down excess government expenditure to finance its policies. There is more in this report.
The manifesto titled Resetting Ghana, Jobs, Accountability and Prosperity focused on transforming key sectors of the economy and providing good governance for the country. The flag bearer of the party, John Mahama, took the podium first to address the country. Iterated that the NDC manifesto is tailored to the needs of the country. According to him, the next NDC government will scrap nuisance taxes to provide a conducive business environment and focus on stabilizing the economy.
In the first 120 days in office, we will hold a national economic dialogue to draw up a 4-year fiscal consolidation plan. We would rationalize taxes, abolishing, among others, the obnoxious e-levy, the COVID levy, and the 10% levy on bet winnings. We will review import duties and levies on vehicles and equipment meant for industrial and agricultural purposes. Ladies and gentlemen, we will rationalize port fees and charges and implement emergency measures to stabilize the city and the macroeconomic environment.
He further stated that the flagship 24-hour economy is a deliberate policy intervention to to stimulate economic growth by creating an enabling environment for businesses and public institutions to operate in a three-shift system.
Extraordinary problems require extraordinary solutions for extraordinary results. And so businesses and public organizations will be encouraged to operate 24/7 in 3 shifts of 8 hours each. This will boost production, it will increase employment and provide well-paying jobs. It will transform Ghana into an import substitution and export-led country. It will increase employment opportunities and revenue, and it will enhance access to public services. We will focus on some selected public institutions that have huge customer traffic.
The manifesto launch of the NDC saw the rank and file of the party and thousands of supporters throng the University of Education campus, Winneba, to listen to the policy intervention of the party.
Meanwhile, the NDC flag bearer also said the next NDC government will invest in different ventures for job creation, including a 3 billion investment in creating 1 million jobs in coding and investment in agriculture and roads to create job opportunities.
Another key area highlighted under the NDC manifesto is job creation. According to John Mahama, the next NDC government will invest $3 billion to create 1 million digital jobs for the youth.
We partner the private sector to invest $3 billion to leverage ICT for jobs. And this will be through the 1 million coders program. We announced this in 2020 and we didn't win power, so we couldn't implement it. Somebody lifted it from our 2020 manifesto and quickly put it out as if it was theirs. I said, go and look in 2020, you see that we had already put it there. But we will continue with our 1 million coders program to train 1 million people in coding.
He also said his government will initiate policies such as Feed Ghana program to boost food in production and a 10 billion big push policy for rapid infrastructure development, which will create jobs for the unemployed in the country.
We want to make agriculture more attractive through modernization to ensure food security and job creation. We reduce food inflation to lower the high cost of living through our Agriculture for Economic Transformation program. We'll roll out a Feed Ghana program, which is to boost food production, guarantee food security, and supply raw materials to industry. And this is my favorite project, to establish farmers' service centers in all agricultural production.
Joining us on phone is former Deputy Minister of Finance under the erstwhile Mahama administration, Mona Korte, to have a conversation on this. Thank you very much for joining us here on ABC News.
Thank you. Good afternoon to you and to all your listeners.
You have only 4 years after 7 January to implement the plethora of policies you have outlined on the economy and across various sectors. What is the assurance that you can do all these things in 4 years? And how will you even finance most of them without borrowing more, considering you abolishing about 5 taxes in the first 120 days?
Thank you very much. First of all, that is a major assumption that we have 4 years to do anything. Government is a continuum and plans for national development go on. So it's not a matter of 4 years. The NDC manifesto, 2024 manifesto that was launched on Saturday, was not one about promises, but about action plans that will be taken when the NDC comes into government. First and foremost, there will be forensic audits and investigations done to verify the core problems that need to be addressed. One does not go and start addressing problems that you don't know much about. So there will be that forensic audit to find out exactly what the core economic problems are, and then there will be initiatives and efforts to address them, as was done in 2014, 15, and 16, which put Ghana on the right path where it started to yield results in 2017, 18, and 19 in terms of growth rates, and growth rates going up, inflation going down, and all the macroeconomic indices going the right direction. At the micro level, infrastructure development had begun and was going strong until 2018 when all that came to sort of a disrupted stop. However, going into the future, the plans that we have are to stabilize the macroeconomy, which is bleeding at the moment, especially in the area of debt management. Ghana is in a debt crisis as we speak, so we will have to carefully manage that situation, get the debt under wraps, make it sustainable, and be able to enter the capital markets again. Even the domestic markets, where credibility has been lost, we will go back into the domestic market to bring credibility and try to raise funds also from the domestic markets for capital to improve infrastructure. This infrastructure development that we will continue from our last governance will be to enable the environment to support development growth, especially under our flagship policy, which is the 24-hour economy policy, 133, one job, 3 shifts, 3 persons working on it. That will almost multiply employment immediately. Before that comes into place, madam, there will be laws and regulations to support it, and we will create an enabling environment, including financial support and everything for this policy, which we will encourage the public sector and the private sector to go into. It will definitely be a game changer. In addition to this, on the micro level, which will be our main focus, we will be working on the real sector. So as we increase infrastructure, we'll be ensuring food security, raw material security. The value chain approach to agriculture will be very important to ensure that whatever we grow, we are able to store. We will ensure that the youth come into agriculture and into industry, because it is creativity that will be the key for leadership and prosperity. So these are some of the action plans that we have in mind for the next governance, which will start January 2025. We will also ensure that we address climate change, make sure that illegal mining is brought to a minimum out of the forest reserves. We'll make sure that lands are rehabilitated by planting crops that will rehabilitate the soil and so forth. We'll also be cleaning the rivers. So there'll be a lot of work which will require funds. These funds will have to come from the natural resources that we manage. We'll be looking at the Petroleum Revenue Management Act again, and we'll also have a Natural Resource Management Act. And from there, we'll raise funds to address some of these issues.
You made mention of the 24-hour economy. I'm sure there is an implementation framework for the policy. But what is the plan B if the policy doesn't immediately yield the returns you're looking at?
The 24-hour economy policy is not supposed to yield results immediately if you are thinking short term, meaning 1 to 2 years. It is a policy that is to be put in place. It will need legal support. It will need the enabling environment, because for one, it will need proper power supply, proper water supply, and a certain level of skill and time. So it will take about 2 years to even put it all together in place, as you rightly mentioned, within the framework. And then it will roll out in the 3rd to 4th year. And it is expected that it will roll out for the rest of our nation's life, as we have seen in other places. So in the public sector, we will see certain institutions working 24 hours rather than just 8 hours and then they are closed. The ports, the airports, the DVLA, some of the banks, some of the ministries. In the private sector too, in order to increase productivity, that will also happen. Agriculture will have to back this policy as well because of raw material supply. So it's not a policy that will yield results in the short term, but more of in the medium to long term. And this is why it will be important that it becomes part of the 40-year plan that we had started, and also that it is enshrined in the Constitution to ensure its longevity, so that each government that comes, successive governments that come, continue to play it out, and then we meet the global stage.
Okay, but do you have an implementation framework to at least achieve this within the first 120 days of coming into office?
To achieve the base, you mean? Yes, we have an implementation framework to achieve the base, and that's what I've itemized for you. There'll be a plan to deal with the laws and regulations, because you need labor laws to be changed to cover having 3 shifts. So we'll have those labor laws there. We'll have all other supporting laws, rules, and regulations in place. Talks with the unions and so forth, which we've already done. We'll have further talks with them to detail the rules and regulations of how this will work. Then we have to make sure that the enabling environment to support this 3 shifts, 3 persons working, is also in place. So power, water, rail, roads, transportation, its end results must also be marketed. So all that will be laid out. So the expectation is that you will see it bearing fruit in the medium to long term. The short term will be the period for executing the framework.
Well, before I let you go, you also talked more about granting tax incentives for the private sector to stimulate business growth. But over the years, these tax incentives haven't really worked or made the needed impact the business community envisages. How different would these incentives be?
I will tell you as an example, a story. Whilst I was in office between June 2014 and 2016 December, there were a number of tax exemptions given to private sector participants who were coming into infrastructure development, primarily MPS, who had built the part of their port within the Tema Port, Ghana Ports and Harbour, who was their landlord. That tax exemption that was given to them has yielded great results. Today, when you go to Tema Port, you are able to clear your goods much faster and easier without too much paperwork and losing time. Also, it has decongested the port a lot. So the benefits were reaped almost immediately, and the tax exemptions made sense as government equity into it. It is when you put tax exemptions into private enterprises that do not yield any results that there is a problem. But where it is used and we can yield results and we can quantify them, like the case of the ports, that is one that you definitely must do. Again, Terminal 3 at the airport. We gave tax exemptions for the building of Terminal 3 at Ghana Airport. And today, we've all realized the benefits of it. So I can give you many examples, but these 2 prominent examples are where tax exemption was given appropriately and yielded very good results. And that was done between 2014 and 2016. And when we come back, we will do that again, and Ghana will have a better standing.
Thank you very much, Mona Korte, former Deputy Minister of Finance under the erstwhile Mahama administration, and she joined us to throw more light on the 2024 manifesto that was launched by the NDC over the weekend. Well, the manifesto was dubbed Resetting Ghana, Jobs, Accountability, Prosperity, and was about. We are still on the manifesto, and joining us is a political scientist at the Kumasi Technical University, Dr. Samuel Efriye. Thank you so much for joining us here on ABC News.
Yeah, thank you very much, my dear. How are you?
I'm doing great. Well, having listened to the NDC manifesto, does it reflect the key issues confronting the country as it stands now?
Yes, thank you very much, and greetings to your cherished viewers. Looking at the NDC manifesto and comparing with the MPP manifesto, I would describe it as a manifesto of hand-on solutions, meaning that you identify the problem, you solve the problem. That is how the manifesto is trying to let us know how the NDC will solve the problems of Ghanaians. But the MPP own is like, the problem is there, but it moved further to look at the root cause and giving out solutions that will be the multiply effect. That is the MPP ways of handling Ghana problem. So looking at the NDC, it's like, what's the issues, what people find themselves is what they give answers to. That is how the manifesto was trying to look at. And the manifesto was also in line with the ideology of government-led business as compared to the MPP that is a private, the private-led economy. So you can realize that the manifesto was into socialist, meaning that the government leading everything. At the same time, it also tries to let us know that for the short time, that is how I see it, that the NDC solution to the problem of Ghana is a short-term measure. Maybe as time goes on, they might explain the 24-hour economy for the two, will end up into the credibility of the one that will lead the country in, that is after 2024 general election, December 7th. But my dear, when you look at the manifesto, you can realize that there's a lot of freebies. You know, a lot of free things. I will do this, I will give this, I will do, and that is a concern that I think our leaders need to look at, because we're still operating in the IMF condition for 2020 up to 2026. And the way things are being given out to the citizens or the electorate shows that you ask yourself a question: can they do it? Can our budget, can our resources fall within all these promises that they are making, so that within the 2026, that is 2026, being the IMF, because we cannot go to the world market for financial support. And that is how the question is: could the leader, or that is a manifesto, address all these promises with our resources of the budget or financial support? That is a concern that, my dear, we are looking at. So let the politician let us know. And that was when we described the timelines. And I think former President Mahama was able to give some few timelines, about 90, 120 days, and that kind. And I think that we should not allow the politicians to give a lot of free promises that at the end of the day, they will find it difficult to address most of them.
Well, yesterday the flag with the press. Were you able to watch this?
Yes, I was able to watch it. And it was so interesting.
But what are your concerns about it? Everything that happened yesterday?
You know, I think, my dear, it was good for the vice president to have that opportunity, because sometimes some of the issues that he is addressing or he has been tagged with is an opportunity for the media to engage him so that it can give better explanation to what these issues are. And I think that is the best opportunity that could have the vice president got yesterday. And I think most of the questions he was able to address it well, especially when you look at the economy that the NDC is describing it as is not performing. The explanation: when your fundamentals are weak, the CD will expose you explain it, and explain some issues about the political killings and other things that was going on. And you also talk about these financial, that's the banking sector, and how the economy is moving on. And that was good, because after the manifesto, you know, there are certain things that might not be clear, and it was good that they engaged. So I think that it was good for the vice president and the MPP flag bearer to be able to give better and further particulars about the issues that was confronting the media and Ghanaians in general.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Samuel Lefree, and he is a political scientist at the Kumasi Technical University, and he had a conversation with us explaining how the NDC manifesto went and if it was able to address everything that Ghanaians are facing. And he also touched a bit on Dr. Bawumia. Well, talking about the NDC manifesto, as I said, it was dubbed Resetting Ghana, Jobs, Accountability, Prosperity. And that is what the manifesto was about. Away from that, let's do business now. The running mate of the National Democratic Congress flag bearer, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, has emphasized the NDC's commitment to establishing a women's development bank if elected. Addressing members and supporters of the party at the 2024 NDC manifesto launch in Winneba, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman said that the Women's Development Bank will empower female entrepreneurs and small business owners by providing low-interest loans and financial literacy and sustainable support by creating job opportunities and breaking down the financial challenges that impede women's development. In his submission,
so this initiative comes as no surprise to some of us, because we have been long aware of NDC's long-standing commitment to gender equality and women's empowerment as essential pillars of national progress. So this initiative comes as no surprise to some of us, because we have been long aware of NDC's long-standing commitment to gender equality and women's empowerment as essential pillars of national progress.
Flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, has responded to the flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, John Mahama's comments on the 2017 banking sector cleanup. Addressing the press at the Bawumia hosts the media, Dr. Bawumia hits back at the former president, asking him to get an understanding of the cleanup before making comments on issues he clearly does not comprehend. Speaking on salvaging the crisis, Dr. Bawumia said that the government saved the deposits of 4.6 million bank depositors who really were going to lose their deposits had those banks not been saved. He also clarified that the banks were not collapsed, but were rather merged into other banks, resulting in no banking depositor losing a cedi. Dr. Bawumia bemoaned that terrible things happened with some of the banks breaking all the rules and extended loans way above the single obligor limits.
I don't understand whether the former president has taken his time to actually understand what happened in the banking sector. Some atrocious things happened. And this is why these banks had to be saved. They were not collapsed, they were merged into other banks. And we know banking depositor lost one cedi. Everybody maintained. But you had very bad things happening. You know, some of the banks broke all the rules and extended loans way above the single obligor limits. They were given, in some cases, 1 billion cedis by the Bank of Ghana to help them get out of the mess, and they only got deeper into the mess. Another bank was giving capital to save the situation, was giving money from the Bank of Ghana's lender of last resort facility, and they used that money to go and set up Capital Bank instead of rescuing the problem that they had. They took the money from the central bank and went to set up another bank, which was also collapsed. Some took money and went and invested in private property. So it was against this background when the governor came to report, and this was one of my nightmares as in the last 8 years. I couldn't sleep that night, that the banking system, most people didn't understand how close we were to a collapse.
Away from business, let's do some sports. National Democratic Congress NDC has laid out an ambitious sports agenda in its 2024 manifesto, highlighting its commitment to elevating sports across Ghana. These promises span from improving infrastructure to ensuring the welfare of athletes at all levels. To bring this vision to life, the NDC has proposed 10 key initiatives. Well, here is a closer look at these promises that aim to transform the sporting landscape of Ghana. Let's take a look at the highlights. So these are some 10 promises made in the NDC manifesto for sports development. 1, they touch on enhancing football salaries, and that is augmenting the salaries of footballers in courts, Division 1, Division 2, and the Ghana Premier League with allowances. Second on the promise is they promise that they're going to have a stadium refurbishment, and that is urgently refurbishing the national stadia in Accra, Kumasi, Tamale, Cape Coast, and Second D to meet FIFA standards. 3, regional stadia development, and this is to continue efforts to establish international standard stadia in all regions. 4, multi-purpose sports facilities. This is also to build more multi-purpose sports facilities to encourage regional sporting events and inter-school competitions. 5, investing in diverse national teams. This is also to ensure fair investment in other national teams, including women's football, para-sports, juvenile teams, and lesser-known sports. Number 6 on the promise is upgrading sports education, and that is to upgrade the University of Education Winneba Sports College into a modern sports university with specialized programs in sports, medicine, science, and management. Number 7, that is sports centers of excellence. This is also to establish sports centers of excellence in northern, middle, and southern zones, collaborating with universities and the private sector. Still on the promises in the sports sector, we have supporting national athletes, which is providing consistent support for national athletes to compete internationally and develop post-competition careers, including pension schemes. Number 9 on the list is sports scholarships and academies. Offer scholarships to promising sports talents and invest in sports academies in partnership with the private sector. Number 10 on the promise is to support for retired athletes, which is to assist retired sports personalities in pursuing other sports-related careers after their active sporting life. Away from sports, let's take a look at what is happening on the international front. Kamala Harris's presidential campaign has seen a significant boost in fundraising with a remarkable $82 million raise during the week of the Democratic National Convention, bringing the total to $540 million since the campaign's launch. According to campaign officials, the campaign's fundraising reached its highest point during Harris's acceptance speech on Thursday night, marking the best hour of donations since the campaign began, as noted by campaign chair Jen O'Malley Dillon. The $82 million raise during the DNC week underscores a strong momentum and growing support for Harris as she continues her bid for the presidency. Still on the international front, in a landmark move to promote work-life balance, Australians have gained a new legal right as of August 26, 2024. The right to disconnect law now allows employees to ignore unreasonable work-related communications outside of their scheduled work hours, marking a significant shift in workplace norms. The introduction of this legislation by the Australian government addresses the growing issue of work intruding on personal time, a trend that intensified during the COVID-19 pandemic. With the Fair Work Commission empowered to resolve disputes and enforce penalties, this law aims to reduce unpaid overtime and help Australians prioritize their well-being. Similar laws have already been implemented in countries like France, Spain, and Belgium, signaling a global move towards protecting workers' personal time. In a major shake-up in the Ghanaian music industry, Kwame Eugene has officially parted ways with Lynx Entertainment after an 8-year collaboration that produced numerous hits and awards. Kwame Eugene's rise to fame under Lynx Entertainment began in 2017 when he quickly made a name for himself with chart-topping hits and multiple awards. His success continued with albums like Rockstar and Stand of Africa, solidifying his status as a leading figure in Ghanaian music. As Kwame Eugene steps into a new chapter, the music world is keen to see if he can sustain his success independently. for staying with us. You can interact with us on all our social media handles at ABC News Ghana. I am Jennifer Sumwa. Good afternoon.